something just went seriously wrong in Edmonton, and the timing could not be worse. 4 Oilers are now expected to miss training camp, including the goalie brought in to help fix one of the team's biggest problems. But there is a much bigger question hiding behind this announcement. How bad is the situation really, and what does it mean for the Oilers? The Edmonton Oilers just received a major blow before training camp has even started. 4 players are expected to miss camp, and one of them is Frederik Andersen, the veteran goalie Edmonton signed this summer. The other 3 are Matt Savoie, Mattias Janmark, and Alec Regula. The team confirmed that all 4 will not take part in next month's training camp. Start with Andersen, because his absence could be the biggest concern. Edmonton signed the 36-year-old goalie to a 1-year contract worth $2.8 million on July 1. The Oilers brought him in after a difficult season in goal, hoping he could give the team more stability. But now, Andersen is recovering from an injury he suffered during an off-season training session, and the Oilers have not said exactly what the injury is or when he will return. That makes this situation even more important. Andersen had a very different regular season and playoff run with the Carolina Hurricanes last year. During the regular season, he went 1-6, 1-4-5 with a 3.05 goals against average and a 874 save percentage over 35 games. But in the playoffs, he became a much stronger goalie. He went 13-2 with a 1.89 goals against average and a 910 save percentage in 16 games as Carolina won the Stanley Cup. Edmonton needs that playoff version of Andersen. The Oilers struggled badly in goal last season. Sportsnet reported that Edmonton finished in the bottom 3 in team save percentage at 883 and in the bottom 10 in goals against average. So Andersen was supposed to be an important part of the answer. Now, he may not even be ready when camp begins, and now the biggest problem becomes the goalie position. Edmonton already knew it needed better goaltending. Last season, the Oilers finished with a team save percentage of just 883, which ranked in the bottom 3 in the NHL. Their goals against average was also in the bottom 10. That is why bringing in Andersen was such an important move. He was supposed to give Edmonton another proven option beside Tristan Jarry. But there is an important detail here. Edmonton has not said that Andersen will miss regular season games. The team only said he is not expected to participate in training camp while he continues to recover from an injury suffered during off-season training. There is also no public timeline for his return. So right now the real concern is not that Andersen is definitely going to miss the season. The concern is that Edmonton does not yet know exactly when he will be ready. That puts more attention on Tristan Jarry. Edmonton acquired Jarry this summer and is expected to use him with Andersen as part of its new goalie plan. If Andersen is not ready when preseason games begin, Jarry could have a much bigger role right away. That could give him an important chance to prove that he can handle the pressure while Edmonton waits for its new veteran goalie. Then there is Matt Savoie. His absence is also important because he just completed his first full NHL season. Savoie played all 82 games and scored 18 goals and 19 assists for 37 points. He also ranks 7th on the Oilers in total points. Losing that player from training camp means Edmonton will have less time to build its lines and prepare for the new season. The good news is that the Oilers have not announced a long-term problem for Savoie. Just like Andersen, he is recovering from an off-season training injury, and the club has not given a return date. That means fans should be careful with rumors. Until Edmonton gives another update, nobody can honestly say how many games Savoie might miss. Janmark and Regula are different cases. The Oilers say both are recovering from medical procedures. Janmark underwent surgery after last season, while Regula had a procedure shortly after the season ended. The team has not given full medical details or a return timeline for either player. Training camp is scheduled to begin with physicals and medical testing on September 16. Edmonton's first preseason game is September 19 against Winnipeg, followed by the regular season opener against Vancouver on September 29. That gives Andersen and Savoie some time to recover, but it also creates a very important question. Will they be ready before Edmonton has to make its final decisions? For the Oilers, this is not just about 4 names missing from a training camp roster. It is about preparation, depth, and one very important goalie question. Edmonton made major changes this summer because it wants to compete again. Now the team has to start the new season without 4 players it expected to have available. And until Andersen's condition becomes clearer, the biggest question in Edmonton will remain between the pipes. Toronto just made a move so risky that it could change the future of the whole franchise forever. After a shocking drama behind closed doors, management pulled off a secret deal nobody expected. Now fans are completely divided, and one question is hanging over everything. Did this bold gamble save the team or start a disaster they can never escape? The Toronto Maple Leafs are entering a completely new era. After a painful regular season that saw them miss the playoffs, the front office knew big changes had to happen. The entire fan base demanded answers, and management responded by tearing down old habits to rebuild from the ground up. New general manager John Chayka took charge and immediately set a bold tone for the summer. With a clock ticking on Austin Matthews' contract window, the front office could not afford to play it safe. The turning point came when Lady Luck smiled on Toronto during the draft lottery. Moving up to land, the #1 overall pick gave this team a golden ticket. Selecting phenom winger Gavin McKenna instantly changed the energy around the entire city. McKenna is not just another prospect. He is a dynamic playmaker who dominated college hockey at Penn State after breaking records in Major Junior. His elite vision and high-speed passing make him the perfect partner for elite goal scorers. Experts believe placing McKenna next to Austin Matthews will give Toronto one of the most dangerous top lines in hockey. However, drafting a miracle rookie was only the first piece of a much larger puzzle. The front office spent the rest of the offseason clearing out underperforming players to fix serious roster gaps. After losing key pieces like Mitch Marner in previous years, the lineup suffered from a complete lack of balance and scoring depth. To fix this, Chayka went aggressive in the market. The Leafs landed veteran goaltender Sergei Bobrovsky to give the team stability in net. They also brought in tough, reliable skaters like Darren Radish, Nick Paul, and Colton Sissons. These additions bring championship experience and defensive toughness to a locker room that desperately needed leadership. Gavin McKenna changes that dynamic completely. As an elite passer with incredible ice vision, McKenna forces opposing defensemen to make a hard choice. If they double-team Matthews, McKenna will thread a pass through traffic to an open teammate. If they drop back to cover passing lanes, McKenna has the quick hands and speed to drive straight to the net himself. This balance is exactly what Jim Hiller's new offensive system requires. Hiller built a reputation for designing lethal power plays, and adding McKenna to the top unit gives Toronto a dynamic quarterback on the half wall. Paired with Morgan Rielly at the point and William Nylander on the opposite flank, the Leafs finally have the elite passing weapons needed to punish teams that take penalties. While the offense looks explosive on paper, the real tests will happen on the defensive end. Sergei Bobrovsky gives Toronto an experienced big-game goalie, but he cannot fix structural team flaws by himself. In recent years, the Leafs struggled with turnovers in their own zone and allowed too many high-danger shots. The additions of veteran defensemen like Darren Radish and hard-nosed forwards like Colton Sissons are meant to clean up those exact mistakes. Their job is simple: clear the net front area, win board battles, and transition the puck quickly up to the speed-driven top six. However, playing in Toronto comes with heavy pressure that can crush unprepared teams. An 18-year-old rookie, even a generational talent like McKenna, will face constant media coverage and massive fan expectations from night one. Furthermore, the front office has made it clear that missing the playoffs again is completely unacceptable. Management cleared out cap space and spent big assets this summer to win immediately, not 3 years down the road. If this new system clicks early, Toronto could rapidly shoot back up the standings and challenge the top teams in the Eastern Conference. But if chemistry takes too long to build, or if injuries strike the top line again, the front office will face intense criticism for blowing their salary cap flexibility. The foundation is set, the roster is rebuilt, and the stakes have never been higher. All eyes now turn to opening night to see if this high-risk strategy pays off or completely explodes. Nobody expected this move, and now the entire hockey world is asking the same question. John Chayka promised to build a stronger Maple Leafs team around Austin Matthews, but one decision has divided fans and analysts across the NHL. Did Toronto finally create a true Stanley Cup contender? Or did Chaika leave, one major problem unsolved? When John Chaika became the new general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, everyone knew change was coming. But very few people expected him to reshape the team so quickly. Instead of making one or two small moves, Chaika changed several important parts of the roster. He brought in new players, added more size and experience, and tried to build a team that could survive the long and difficult road to the Stanley Cup. His message was clear. Toronto has had one of the best goal scorers in the world in Austin Matthews, yet the team has continued to fall short in the playoffs. Every offseason, fans hope the front office will find the missing piece that can help Matthews lead the team to a championship. This summer, all eyes turned to John Chaika. Chaika did not sit back and wait. He made several important moves to give the team a different look. Toronto added veteran goaltender Sergei Bobrovsky, giving the club an experienced goalie with a Stanley Cup winning background. The Leafs also added forward Jack Roslovic and traded for Nick Paul, bringing more depth and physical play to the lineup. Chaika later explained that his goal was to make the team deeper, faster, bigger, and heavier. It was a clear sign that Toronto wanted to change its identity instead of relying only on skill. At first, many fans praised these moves. The Maple Leafs looked tougher than before. The bottom six forwards appeared stronger, and the defense looked more balanced. Some hockey experts even said this was one of the biggest offseason makeovers in recent team history. But as the excitement settled down, another question quickly began to spread across the hockey world. Did John Chaika actually do enough to help Austin Matthews? That question has become one of the hottest topics surrounding the Maple Leafs. While many analysts agree the team improved its depth, others believe Toronto is still missing another elite offensive player who can take pressure off Matthews. Right now, Matthews remains the player every opponent focuses on. If teams can slow him down in the playoffs, who will consistently step up beside him? And that's exactly where Chaika's biggest decision is now being. The entire NHL is watching to see whether that choice will finally bring the Stanley Cup back to Toronto or become the decision everyone remembers for the wrong reason. John Chaika's biggest decision was not only about the players he added, it was also about the players he refused to give up. One name that stayed at the center of attention was Matthew Knies. During the offseason, reports said the New York Rangers showed serious interest in the young forward. Many fans wondered if Toronto would use Knies in a blockbuster trade to bring in another star. But Chaika chose a different direction. The Maple Leafs held on to Knies because they believe he is a major part of the team's future, alongside Austin Matthews. That decision surprised many people around the league. Instead of chasing one huge trade, Chaika showed confidence in the young talent already inside the organization. This move also tells us something about Chaika's long-term plan. Rather than sacrificing young players for a quick fix, he appears to be building a team that can compete for more than just one season. Knies has continued to develop into a powerful forward who can score, win puck battles, and play the physical style that becomes so important during the playoffs. If he takes another step forward this season, Toronto may not need to search outside the organization for more offense. But until that happens, the debate will continue. Another reason this discussion has become so popular is because everything still comes back to Austin Matthews. He remains the face of the franchise and one of the NHL's best goal scorers. Every team that dreams of winning the Stanley Cup needs its biggest stars to perform. But hockey is never a one-man game. Even the greatest players need strong teammates around them. That is why so many analysts are asking the same question. Has John Chaika built enough support around Matthews? Or is one important piece still missing? So far, the reactions have been mixed. Some fans believe the Maple Leafs are finally built for playoff hockey. They point to the added depth, stronger defense, experienced goaltending, and a roster that looks tougher than it did a year ago. Others are not fully convinced. They believe Toronto still lacks another elite top six scorer who can help Matthews when opponents focus all their attention on shutting him down. Until the season begins, no one can say for certain which side is right. One thing is clear, though. John Chaika did exactly what every general manager hopes to do. He gave people something to talk about. His decisions have changed the conversation around the Maple Leafs. Now the pressure shifts from the front office to the players. If this new roster finally makes a deep playoff run, Chaika's bold strategy will be praised as a masterstroke. But if the same problems return when the games matter most, every offseason move will be questioned again. The answers are still months away, but one thing is certain. The entire hockey world will be watching every step the Maple Leafs take, because this season could define John Chayka's legacy in Toronto.
Something happened inside the Maple Leafs organization that most fans completely missed. It wasn't the first overall pick, it wasn't the trade rumors, and it wasn't free agency. It was a series of decisions that, when connected together, reveal a blueprint that could change this franchise for the next decade. Here's why I think Toronto will never be the same after this offseason. The biggest mistake people are making right now is assuming this offseason is about replacing one player or filling one position. It isn't. This is about changing the identity of the Toronto Maple Leafs. When organizations miss expectations, they usually look for quick fixes. They fire a coach, make a trade, or sign a free agent and hope things improve. That's not the impression I'm getting here. Everything that's happened since the front office changed points toward a much larger plan. It really started when Toronto won the draft lottery. That moment changed the entire direction of the franchise. Instead of entering another offseason wondering how to squeeze one more playoff run out of the current core, the Maple Leafs suddenly found themselves with something every organization dreams about: the opportunity to draft a potential franchise player first overall. They used that pick on Gavin McKenna, a player the organization believes can become one of the faces of the NHL for years to come. The selection wasn't viewed as just adding another talented prospect. Internally, the belief is that players like McKenna have the ability to reshape an entire franchise. Here's what caught my attention even before the draft. The messaging coming from the front office wasn't centered on immediate results. Instead, the focus was on long-term impact. John Chayka spoke about identifying the player who would become the best over the course of his career, not simply the player who could contribute the fastest. That's an important distinction because it tells me this management group is thinking several years ahead, not just about next season. From what I've been told, that's become the foundation for every decision they're making. Every trade discussion, every contract evaluation, every roster decision is being measured against one question: does this help build a sustainable contender, or is it simply solving today's problem? That's why I don't believe McKenna is expected to carry this franchise immediately. There will naturally be enormous expectations. Whenever you're the first overall pick in Toronto, the spotlight is impossible to avoid. Austin Matthews experienced it. Every elite prospect experiences it. But internally, the organization appears determined to develop McKenna the right way instead of rushing him simply because of the market. His talent isn't in question. The challenge is making sure the environment around him allows him to reach his full potential. Now, here's where everything starts connecting. When I look at the rumors surrounding Toronto's blue line, I don't just see a team trying to acquire another defenseman. I see an organization asking a much bigger question: what should the defense look like when Gavin McKenna reaches his prime? That's why names like Zach Werenski continue appearing in league discussions. To be clear, nothing has been confirmed, and there's no verified report saying a deal is close. But multiple reports have linked Toronto to interest in exploring elite, proven defensemen as part of its roster transformation. Whether those conversations ultimately lead to Werenski or another player is almost secondary. The important takeaway is that the Maple Leafs are clearly exploring ways to build a stronger foundation on the blue line. The same applies to Morgan Rielly. I've seen plenty of fans immediately assume that any mention of Rielly in trade speculation means the organization wants to move on from one of its longest-serving leaders. I don't think it's that simple. Here's what I'm hearing. The Maple Leafs aren't looking at this emotionally. They're evaluating every major contract on the roster through the lens of where this team wants to be 3, 4, and 5 years from now. That doesn't automatically mean Rielly is getting traded. In fact, John Chayka has publicly downplayed the likelihood of moving him. At the same time, league insiders continue to believe teams are asking questions because Riley remains one of the most respected defensemen available if Toronto ever chose that path.